I would allocate. So this is the first question we'd be looking at today. This question is worth 2 marks and you're allocated 2 minutes to do this. So your time begins now. So upon getting the answer, the response, you can message in the chat. Good job. We already have correct responses going in. So go ahead, guys. Take 2 minutes for this question. Beginning now. Okay, guys. So by now, you should be completed with this problem. So let's look at this question. So we need to simplify this using decimal notation. So that is the key to this problem here. Decimal notation. So you know for sure it involves using the decimal number, so you will have a decimal point. So that's the first thing we do. We write the decimal points. Now in the decimal number, we would have the whole numbers on the left of the decimal point. Right? So the whole numbers would be on this side. The decimal or the fractions, decimal fractions would be to the right of the decimal. So how can we write this as a decimal number now? What is the whole number? Let's identify the whole numbers in the problem, which would be 7 in this case. So the 7 would go to the left of the decimal point. And the numbers going to the right of the decimal point would be 5 and then 3. So remember, the first number after the decimal point is tenths, T-E-N-T-H-S. The second number represents hundreds. So the form given here is what we know as expanded notation. Right? So when we are given expanded notation and we need to write it, this is how we would write the decimal number. So we can go from this writing that or the other way around. So the question could have also asked, give us 7.53 and ask us to write an expanding notation. So we would have written it as it was written here. Right, so this is the thought process behind this question. Before I proceed, I want to make sure, are we feeling confused about this? How are we feeling? Let's take an answer the poll. Wonderful job, guys. So let's proceed to the next question. So this is the question here. Giving you guys 3 minutes to answer this one. Beginning now. Take your time, read the question carefully, and then proceed to answer it. Good job, guys. So I saw some correct responses. So let's proceed to work this problem out. So when you're given this problem or worded problems like this, one of the first thing you need to do is take a pencil, spend a couple time, like about a couple seconds, read the question carefully and underline the important information in the question. So the first step I would have done was spend some time reading the question and have a pencil close by. So Carrie had $60 as an allowance. Right, so we know the allowance she has is $60. That's the total she has. So keep that at the back of your mind. First piece of information is she spent 2/5 of it on snacks, 1/4 of it on stickers. Stickers. Right? So 2/5 on snacks, 1/4 of it on stickers. Note carefully, the quarter does not say quarter of the remainder. Right? It says quarter of it on stickers. So it refers to the total of 60. Right? The question asks, what fraction we spend on snacks and stickers all together? Right, so let's work this part out. So for part A, we would have the allowance as $60. So we have the $60 here, which is the total. So she would have spent 2/5 on snacks, and we would have had 1/4 on stickers. Right, so the total spent, so the total amount she would have spent would have been the 2/5 on snacks and the 1/4 on stickers. So what we need to do is addition of these two fractions. Right, so we have two fractions with different denominators. So what we need to do is find the common denominator in both of them. So what would be the common denominator in 5 and 4? The common denominator would be 20. 5 by 4 would give you 20. 4 by 5 would give you 20. So that would be the common denominator, or the smallest number that can work for both of them. Now, in order to get 20, we'd have to multiply 5 by 4 to give us 20. Therefore, we need to multiply 2 by 4 to maintain the same thing. So we'd be getting that so far. And the quarter, to convert that to 20, we would have to multiply 4 by 5 to give us 20. Therefore, to maintain that, we have to multiply the numerator by 5 as well. So we'd have gotten 8 over 20, which would be the 2/5, and the 1/4 would be 5 over 20, which would be 13 over 20. So that would represent the first part of the problem when we're working it out. So now let's proceed to the second one. So the second part asks, how much money did she save? Right. So to answer this problem, there are two things you can do. One is a long way and one is a short way. So let me just give you guys about, so you can take a screenshot of the solution if you guys like. This would be for part A, the solution on the video. Right now, I will keep emphasizing this. Pay attention to what the question asks. Sometimes the question would say 1/4 of the remainder, right? But in this case, you spent 2/5 of the allowance on snacks, 1/4 of the allowance on snacks, on stickers, and save the remainder. So the total spend would have just been to add the two fractions up together. Right, so let me go to the explanation for part B now. So in part B, we need to find how much money did she save. So we know already from part A that she would have spent 13 out of 20. Right? So how much would she have saved? If she spent 13 out of 20, she would have saved 7 out of 20. Right? 20 out of 20 would have represented the entirety or the whole of this month. Right? So if she saved 13 out of 20, she would have saved 7 out of 20 as a fraction. Now the question did not ask for the fraction that she saved. It asked how much money did she save. So she would have saved, so the amount saved now, so this is the fraction saved, the amount saved would have been 7 over 20 multiplied by the total allowance Carrie would have had. So it would have been 7 over 20 multiplied by the total allowance, which would be $60. And then we can work this out. So 20 can go into itself one time. 20 by 3 would give us $60. So the total amount she would have saved would have been $21. Now, yes, you could have done the question another way, where you have found the money she spent. So you would have multiplied 13 over 20 by 60, and that would have given you 39. And then you would have subtracted 39 from the 60 to give you 21. But please remember that this method, it saves you some time in an exam. So in fractions, once you deal with a whole, if you spend this amount, you save this amount. Right? So remember, the both of them would give you 20 when you add them. So this amount is lost, so you remain with this amount. So the correct response would have been 21 for part E. So let me just show you guys, follow this. Let me know if you're confused or if you are able to follow this. By the way, guys, I know we just have a couple more sessions. So if you want me to focus on a particular topic on Monday or Tuesday, you can send a message. Send me a message, right? So I would take it into consideration. Wonderful job, guys. So let's move on to another type of question. Right, this is a fairly difficult question. So I'm giving you guys 3 minutes because it's worth 3 marks. So begin now and let me know what you got as the answer. Wonderful, guys. Number if you got this answer so far. So I'm just giving you guys about 1 more minute left, which should be the allocated time to answer this problem. Okay, guys, so let's work the problem out. So, first thing you do, always take a couple seconds to read the question, underline the important information you have in the question. So, we have 5 years ago, Paul was 3/8 his father's age. Paul's father is now 37 years. How old is Paul now? So we need to find how old Paul is now, currently. Right, so we're given some information in this question. Let's take a note of what we have. So we have 5 years ago, Paul was 3/5 his father's age. Paul's father is now 37 years old. How old is Paul now? So, on my screen, my whiteboard. Right. So 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, we would have this scenario here. We would have Paul's father. And we would have Paul. Right, so this representing the two scenarios here. So we have Paul was 3/5 his father's age. 3/8, sorry. Right, so that's the scenario we're given. Now we say Paul's father is now 37 years old. Right, so this would have been 5 years ago. And we'll be dealing with now. So currently, Paul's father is 37 years old. Right, so 5 years into the future, Paul's father is 37 years. So 5 years ago, we need to subtract 5, and that would have given us 32. Right, so we are minusing 5. Why we are minusing 5? Because 5 years ago, Paul would have been 3/8 his father's age. So we need to subtract the 5 from the current age of Paul's father, which is given as 37. So when we have done that and we got the 32, what we need to do is this. So if Paul was 3/8 his father's age, and 5 years ago, how would we find Paul's age? Paul is 3/8 his father's age. Therefore, Paul would be equal to 3/8 multiplied by 32. Now it would be 32, not 37, because this was 5 years ago. Right? So this first step was to eliminate that 5 years to get the 32. And then we could have found the 3/8 of 32. So we need to simplify this as best as possible. So we need to be familiar with multiples of 8. 8 can go to itself 1 time. 8 can go into 32 4 times. So we'd be left with 4 multiplied by 3 to give us 12. Right? So that would have been Paul's age 5 years ago. Right? So if we had stopped at 12, we would not have got the answer. So this age would represent 5 years ago. So in order to determine Paul's age now, for Paul's current age, you would have needed to add the 5, because we are currently in the future. Right? So the key in these questions is the words. They didn't just ask for Paul's age 5 years ago, they asked for Paul's age now. So when you have got the 12, that would have been 5 years ago. Don't forget to add the 5. Right? So these questions pay very particular attention to the wording. That could determine how you answer or what would be the answer. Very easy to misinterpret. So let me know if you guys are confused about this or if you follow. Right, this would have been a section 2 problem, but a relatively hard section 2 problem. Right? Don't forget, if you want to focus on a particular topic, feel free to let me know. Okay, so this question, I would give you 3 marks to work out part A, 3 minutes to work out part A, and 2 minutes to work out part B. So first, let us work out part A, beginning now. So again, guys, we have talked about this question or a similar question like this in some previous classes. So go ahead, guys.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Rochelle.
What do you mean by place between?
Okay, so I'll give you guys a hint. So between means like the pipes are placed here, in between the poles. Okay, guys, so I would look at part A now before we proceed to work out part B. Right, so by now you should be completed with part A. So let's look at part B. So we have, again, always spend a couple seconds reading the question carefully. So we have 9 light posts are evenly spaced along a highway. The total of 144 plastic pipes of the same length are placed equally between the 9 posts. So what is happening here is this. Between the light posts, we're actually putting the pipes. Right? They are equally spaced. So we have how many spaces to account for here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we have 8 spaces. Right? So when you're given a question, let us always remember that the number of poles does not necessarily equal the number of spaces. Right? In the context of this question, so let me recap this. We have done this already, but just for the sake of understanding, let's talk about it. Right, so in the case of that question, we'd have given this. We'd have had equals, and we'd have had a straight line, poles are placed, pipes are placed between poles. right? And we would have had 8 spaces and 9 poles. So a general rule to help you remember this is simply this. So I would recap this because a lot of students get confused with this concept. So when you have these types of questions where you're trying to place the amount of poles or the number of fence posts in a line or in a loop, this is what you need to remember. The first thing is that once it is not the closed shape, the number of poles are one more than the number of spaces. This is the rule you need to remember. Once it's not a closed shape, the number of poles are one more than the number of spaces. So in the question, we had 9 poles. Does the diagram there represent a closed shape? No, this is not a closed shape, it's just a straight line. So for example, is this a closed shape? No, it's not a closed shape, it's just a straight line, we just went this way and that way. This is a closed shape, however. Right, so once it's not a closed shape, the number of poles is always one more than the number of spaces. Right, so we can also take this the opposite way. So the number of spaces could also be one less than the number of poles. So if we have 9 poles in this question, we would have 8 spaces. Right, because we are dealing with not a closed shape, a line. So let me make sure we understand this. So suppose we had on this line we had 1, 2, 3, 4. We had 5 poles evenly spaced. What will be the number of spaces in this pool? Well, I mean, you can check it, but let's say you couldn't check it. What would be the number of? Very good, right? So we have 5 poles placed along a line. The number of spaces would be 4, right? Because it's just a line. It's not a closed shape. When it's a closed shape, for example, a square, then the number of spaces would be the number of poles, right? Because it's a loop. Once it's a closed loop, then the number of spaces will be equal to the number of poles. But once it's not, so it could even be something like that. You'll always apply the first rule. You would have one more pole than the other, right? So that is the explanation behind the reasoning here. The reasoning behind this here, right? So let's go back to the question now and continue. The job started on the end, that's correct. Right, so using that equation, let's go forward. Right, so we know we have 8 spaces in this problem, right? So we need to find out how many pipes. Now you have to be reading the question carefully. It's easy to throw away marks in these questions. It said how many pipes are placed between the first and second post. So how many spaces are we considering if we are just putting pipes between the first and the second post?
8.
Very good. It would just be 8 pipes. Now how did you get to the 8? Well, we have 8 spaces between here from 1 to 8. But we have how many pipes? Total of 144 pipes.
9.
Right? So we have 8 spaces, 144 pipes. So we need to split the 144 into 8 equal parts. Right? Because remember, the pipes are evenly split. So how can we do this? What do we need to do? We need to divide now 144 into 8 equal parts. So 144 into 8 would give you a total of 18. So 18 would have been the number of 5's per space. Right, now we can really get tired with this question, right? They wanted the number 5 between the first and second pole, right? So that's equal to how many spaces? 1 space, right? 1 space would be equivalent to 18 5s. What is the length of 1 5? The length of 1 5 given in the question would have been 7 meters. So if you have to find the total length of the 18 5s, what do we need to do? The total length of the 18 5s would be 18, because there are 18 5s, multiplied by 7 meters. And that would give you a total of 126. So a couple of you guys got this, which is really good. Good job, Leanne. So now I always say this, don't just write 126, always put your units. So in this case, it would be meters, right? So this would be the working you should expect to have when you're doing a problem like this. This is important to put working in a problem because you need to be clear in your explanation for the problem. So we have time to do part B, but before we do part B, let me know if you guys follow this or if you are feeling confused. So the lesson to be learned here is this. Once it's not a closed shape, the number of spaces is always 1 less, right? Don't forget that. So brilliant, guys. So now let's actually go back to the quiz. I would give you guys 2 minutes to attempt part B, and I would work. Oh, I actually worked out the solution already. My apologies. So the 126 is actually part B, so I actually went ahead. And here would have been 85.
Excuse me, sir. Can you put it back on the whiteboard?
Whiteboard, sure. Right, so that will be the explanation there.
Thank
Right,
you.
so here would be for part A, and this would be part B. Right, so I'll give you a couple, maybe like 10 seconds again, so you can take a screenshot of it. And we will do one more question before we end class today. Right, guys, so this is the last question for today's class. So let's begin. So I'll give you guys 1 minute to do this problem. This is a relatively straightforward question if you know what you're doing. So feel free to message me the answer if you got it. Good job, Sajda. That's correct. Good job, Leanne, as well.
Excuse me, sir. Do we have to calculate the squares in the middle or outside?
The shaded area, so the one in the where you see the lines going across. So this region. that region. Right, so I'm going to discuss the solution for this. So to do this problem, what you need to know are two things: the total number of squares and you need to know the area of each square. Right, now for each square that I mean here is each one of these little squares. That's correct, Isaiah. 144 is the answer. But let's see how we got the answer. So the two things we need are the total number of squares and the area of each square. Now there are some instances where the area of the small square is not given and you have to actually calculate it. In this case, however, it's given. So we know one small block represents 9 centimeters squared. Right? So what we need to do is find out the total number of small squares. So we can count them directly from the graph. Right, so let's count them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we have a total of 16 small squares. We would have each small square would represent an area of 9 centimeters squared. Right, so what will be the total area of each? To find that, we have 16 of the little squares, but each of the little square has an area of 9 centimeters squared. Therefore, the total area of A would be 144 centimeters squared. Right, so don't forget your units in these problems. Right, it's important to put your units. cm squared. Right, so this would be the method to solve problems like this. First, total number of squares, area of each square. Now you could have an instance where the square was cut diagonally. So in that case, this would represent a half and this would represent a half. Right, so that's something to pay attention to sometimes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Rochelle?
What is that next to the 144 centimeter in red?
Square. That's square. That's to the power of 2. Right? Because area is measured in centimeters squared or unit square. Right, so let me write it a little bit better. Right, so it's 144 cm, and this is a 2 here, the power centimeters squared. Right, so let me know if you guys are feeling confused about this, or if you guys follow it, you can answer the poll before we end today's session. Right, guys, so I know I said we'd have done some section 1 and section 2 questions and so on, but I had a couple requests to do harder questions, so that is what we will do on Monday and Tuesday. So we'll be doing some more section 3 and 2 questions that are a little bit difficult. Right, so like these types of questions and so on, and maybe a step higher. Right, so if you guys have any topics, even by Monday, you can feel free to let me know. If you also want to attempt some problems and send me, I would provide you my email. So I'll do that now. Right, so that would be my email. So you can send me if you guys want to attempt questions on your own, because I know exams is pretty close. So you can send the question you attempt. So make sure to take a picture of the question you're doing, so I would know what the question is, and also write up your solutions as clearly as possible. Right, so if you guys want to do that, that's fine. You can email me and I will do my best to respond as quickly as we can. So this is for your own practice. If you want, I'm giving you the options, so you can take my email there. Right, guys? So we have come to the end of this tutorial. It was a pleasure serving you today. Please take a minute to fill out the quality control question that would appear at the end of this session. Please let us know what you'd like us to discuss and how we can improve the better state. Thank you for choosing BetterGradesFast.com. Do have a blessed day. Right, guys? So again, don't forget, if you have some questions you'd like to attempt, feel free to email me them. Remember, your exam is in a couple of days, so I wish you guys all the best in your last preparation and your studies. Do have a productive and great day. Goodbye, guys.
Bye, sir.